Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the EEARSS Podcast Produced by Terrier TV. I am Alligator Rob. I am joined by, as always, by Bill and Cindy. Howdy, guys. How's it going?
Go ahead, Cindy. You get to go first.
It's going well.
Yeah. Bill, how are you doing?
Okay. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I'm doing well.
I just got back from camping, so.
I saw the tag on your car.
Yes.
Camping.
Did you go to, where'd you go?
Alexander Springs.
Oh, okay.
Jam up.
Yeah. The best part is throughout the entire campground, I don't have any cell phone signal. So
Okay.
I have been so completely disconnected from the world. It's been amazing.
There you go.
There's been zero harassment.
Almost zero.
So
Okay.
now here's my question, because every time I go, how was the raccoon situation?
It was actually the best I think it's ever been.
Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm there a couple times a year, and this time was the first time I didn't have any problems.
I never knew you were into
Oh,
camping.
wow.
I
She's
didn't-
not.
Yeah,
Her husband is trying to get her into camping.
That's actually not true.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
A group of our friends have gone for years, and the very first time, I will admit, I was like, what is wrong with you people? Why I work very hard to not sleep outside. Why would I want to do this? This is horrible. It's the worst idea. And then by the end of that first trip, I had to admit begrudgingly to everyone that I actually enjoyed myself. So
Oh, good.
now I'm the one that's like, when can we go? What are you guys
Oh,
doing?
yeah.
Can you
Well,
take off
and it's
work?
nice
Let's go.
now that you don't have a cell signal, and so
Yes.
you have an excuse. I am out of touch.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good getaway.
Yep.
Yeah, good getaway.
Mm-hmm.
I spent the day at Coquina Elementary School judging science fair projects.
Oh, okay. How
Yeah.
did that go? How many volcanoes did you have?
There were zero volcanoes.
No volcanoes.
There were no volcanoes. There was it was interesting, the difference, and you could tell which ones the parents had done for them and which ones the students had actually done. And for the most part, so they you can interview the kids if you want to and ask them about their science projects, but maybe you can just keep it with the good ones if you want to. And I'm like, if I'm judging them, I'm interviewing all the kids. Like I want to talk to all of them. I want to have them to all have an opportunity to talk about their work, because that's part of the scientific process, man. You got to be able to talk about what your
Sure.
thinking
Oh,
was
yeah.
and why you did it, and did your hypothesis really turn out the way you wanted it to? If you were going to do it differently again, how would you do it? I enjoy hearing the answers to those questions, but there were a couple of kids who weren't into the interview process by any means.
Right.
This one girl looked at me and just rolled her eyes, and I was like, okay. And I'm like, should I walk away for a little bit and come back? Or she goes, no. And I said, so you don't want to talk about it? No. I said, okay, cool. Then we won't talk about it.
Well, maybe she had been up all night working on it.
I
And
don't
was just
know.
tired of it.
I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
don't know. It was,
My favorite science fair project that any of my kids did, my daughter did Mentos and Diet Coke, and Mentos and Diet Sprite, and Mentos and something else. And we were out in the backyard measuring how high each
Oh,
of
that's
them
cool.
went. And because I didn't realize it was that explosive.
explosive it is.
It is amazing what that does.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
My favorite one got glued to our dining room table accidentally.
Oh, really?
No joke.
So did you bring the whole dining room table to school?
I was like the night before trying to pry it up. She tested, I think, different kinds of growing medium to see how they affected seedlings. But there was this big I'm big on, it's your project, you're going to do it. I will help you with the things an adult has to do, but you're doing it.
Right.
So I sat there and watched while she used the wood glue and all. I thought it was a great idea until I realized it was stuck to her
It was stuck to your table.
Oh,
table.
my
I'm
goodness
like
gracious.
prying it up with a butter knife the night before. How did this happen?
Oh, no.
I think for the most part, parents must dread the idea of the word science fair project.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dear
Yeah.
Lord.
It's like, I already did this. I don't need to do this again.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right. You guys ready to jump into our guest today?
Let's do it.
All right. So today on the phone, we are joined by Michael Starkey, who runs a group called Save the Snakes. What's up? How's it going, buddy?
Oh, it's going great. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, man. Thank you for being here. Joined us from California, yeah?
That's right. Coming from Sacramento, which it's actually quite sunny right now, but we're in the winter season, and so we're getting some intermittent rain. Good thing for our desperate drought.
Okay. So tell us about your organization, what you guys do, and all the things, buddy.
Yeah, so Save the Snakes is actually sort of a response to a lack of conservation efforts directed to snakes, right? So if you think about how other wildlife species are kind of in the news, maybe charismatic megafauna. Think of your cute and cuddly pandas, tigers, elephants. Everyone wants to save them, right?
Yep.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
But most of the time, snakes actually have some of the same conservation issues that some of these other more charismatic species face, but there's not really someone out there, championing for them, at least that we know of, right? So I think we're all introduced to maybe a little bit of Steve Irwin when he'd be like holding a big python and it bites him in the face and he would still call it beautiful. I was one of those few kids that grew up watching that and being like, yeah, snakes are really amazing. And so when I pursued a career in wildlife conservation herpetology, a lot of the work that I was doing, I was seeing that, these underrepresented species, there weren't enough conservation actions happening. And through our organization, we were able to find people around the world that had similar ideas about it. And they wanted to help their local snakes, whether in Nepal or Brazil or in Ecuador, or right here in California. And so thus Save the Snakes was born. And what we do is basically empower wildlife conservationists to save snakes locally and to mitigate human-snake conflict. Because I'm guessing that, there's probably people in your life that maybe not a big fan of snakes. I know, Frank, you're a fan of snakes, but
yeah, there's not many people in my life that's not a fan. But yes,
Frank
for most
spends
people,
a lot of time with snakes.
yeah.
Thanks to Frank, I have a respect now for snakes because I used to just be terrified of them, but he taught me, and now I actually can coexist peacefully and sometimes enjoy them being near me, not close, but near.
Yeah, a little bit of communion with snakes is always a good thing, I think.
You'll learn a lot when you encounter a snake.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
So now, in the conservation efforts, I would think that there would be a lot of difference in how you're received regarding venomous snakes versus non-venomous snakes. Is that true?
Yes, to an extent, but I'm sure maybe you've heard this saying before, any good snake is a dead snake.
Yep.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because a large part of like our global population cannot determine what species is venomous and what is not. And sometimes there is even an assumption that all snakes are venomous. And so there's a radical amount of education that has to happen. And so for us to like work with the threatened species of snakes, we have to work with communities on the ground and get them to know, okay, these are the snakes that are venomous. These ones you have to watch out for. Here's the really important, threatened species, like on our logo is a king cobra, and that's sort of a flagship species because they're a threatened species as well. And they're actually, it's funny, king cobras don't really bite people. It's really rare. But there's other similar snakes like spectacle cobras and monocle cobras that do bite people. And so getting people to tell the difference between these snakes might actually have them not kill a king cobra versus if, they can tell a difference between these other species. And so to get people to save threatened snakes, you get the community involved, you get people who are maybe interested in snakes to help their community to learn about them so they are able to tell the difference.
Yeah, we find the same thing with crocodilians. Anytime if you're looking to make a conservation effort toward whatever species it is, if you can include the local community in that conservation effort, that's the only way you make it work because people don't want to hear that stuff traditionally from outsiders. They want to be able to hear it from someone in their community that's standing up and talking about it. You find the same thing?
That is such a good point, and it's actually it's fundamental to how our organization operates, right? So I don't go and fly across the world to Nepal and tell people in Nepal that they should be saving snakes, right? That doesn't work, and that's actually wildlife conservation 101. So what we've taken the same tools and decades of experience from people who've been saving chimpanzees and and tigers and other things. You can't have these like Westerners go and try and save the species that needs to be saving. It's like, no, you find people who are already or maybe want to be working on the ground or from that community, a part of that community, and they're the stewards for those wildlife species. And so we use those same techniques to save snakes around the world.
So how many countries are you guys technically in right now? I remember you telling me you had a home base in Africa too?
Yeah, we do. So we were founded in 2017. So we actually just approached our 5-year anniversary. We're a relatively small organization in terms of like organizations go. But since our founding, we've been able to support 29 29 projects in 18 countries. And so some of those are just, we provide seed funding, technical guidance to help get projects off the ground. And then we have some other projects that are a little bit more long term. And so currently we have a couple projects in Zambia and in South Africa, which are 2 long-term human-snake conflict mitigation projects. There's actually, in the areas that we're working, the rural parts of the countries, there's actually not really any threatened species that we're trying to save. It's literally just trying to stop snake bite, which is a huge part of the work that we do, and trying to reduce snake bite death, because people, unfortunately, do succumb to some serious snake bite situations around the world. And so those programs are working with communities to help, from being able to, teach community members about how to identify snakes, how to keep snakes out of homes, or we actually have snake rescuers that go, and if a snake is in a home, they're able to go and rescue it and relocate it to a more appropriate area.
That is awesome. So you told me a little bit about your background. When we started this, you told us a little bit about your background. What is the true passion that pushed you to starting this nonprofit? I mean, so, if we're going back to you at a younger age, when did you start knowing your love for snakes, and then how did it build to where it is now?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I was reflecting on this earlier because I think some scientists on Twitter were talking about how if they're in the field they're in, as a kid, were they interested in that field? And I'm sure, many of you who work with kids or talk to kids, you talked about, oh, what do they want to be when they grow up? Do they follow that path? And I think most of us don't have that opportunity, right?
It's true.
I am really fortunate that I have had a passion for animals since I was a child. I remember being in kindergarten and telling my teacher I wanted to be a zoologist. And I kind of followed that every path I could. It took some turns, definitely, because there was a period of time in my teens and early 20s where I had a lot of snakes at home because I was a city kid. So I grew up in the city of Sacramento. I didn't get out into nature much. And so my connection to nature was watching Animal Planet and, Wild Discovery and seeing snakes from that side of it. This is before YouTube got off, right? And so I just started keeping snakes in my home. And at some point I thought I was going to open a reptile store. But then right out of high school, I had the amazing opportunity to get hired by a wildlife biologist that lived in Sacramento, where I live, catching giant garter snakes, which are a really, really interesting species of garter snake. I'm sure for those listening, everyone kind of has an idea of what a garter snake is, or a garden snake, other kind of not correct but common name for them. The little small black and yellow snake with the lines down the back, right? Well, this species of garter snake is the largest in the world. They get up to 5 feet long, and they only live in the Central Valley of California, which is a kind of a really, when people think of California, maybe they think of Hollywood, or they have special things they think about. But I'm from the Central Valley, and it used to historically be massive floodlands, but now it's all agriculture. And so this species of garter snake is very threatened. And what my first season working with the snake is we had a couple snakes that had transmitters in them, and we were seeing how they use agricultural landscape. And how does a garter snake navigate from eating frogs and fish and rice fields, and then crossing over a busy interstate and going into other agricultural areas. And when I saw that these snakes were moving huge distances to find food, to find mates, I kind of got a little bit of a mind shift about when I came back home to look at all my snakes in little boxes. And there's nothing, not to critique that per se, but just it made me think I think I want to do a little bit more with my life than work in the pet trade and things like that. So I pursued basically a career in herpetology, and that job ended up allowing me the opportunity, because being a threatened species and getting many years of experience with it, I was able to get other jobs with endangered and threatened amphibians in the state of California, including California tiger salamanders, California red-legged frogs. I worked for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, counting sandhill cranes and migratory bird species that came through, banded birds too. Did a lot of bat work, so catching bats, in actually multiple countries, and mostly in California, but also Mexico, Belize, and Panama. And it kind of just spiraled from there. It went from this interest in snakes and animals to, how can I keep working with these animals? And I found that my passion was in the field, and I wanted to find every opportunity I could to be in the field working with wildlife and in nature. But at some point, you have to grow up and pay the bills, right?
Yep.
So unfortunately, field work does not pay very well. But over a decade or so of doing it, working for nonprofit organizations, and then taking a long time in working in Belize. I was working on a howler monkey conservation project. Basically came back to the United States after doing a little globetrotting and trying to decide what I wanted to do and where I thought that maybe I could help wildlife. And it kind of came back to this passion with snakes. And I've always been so interested and so excited about snakes, and doing some international work with, in Belize, I was working with howler monkeys, which is maybe a story for another day, but it was a very incredible experience. But doing also rare frog work in Africa and some frog work in Panama, just was very, very fortunate to see, how wildlife conservationists work and work alongside local communities, being a part of those communities. And I wanted to kind of do the same thing for snakes. And I knew that kind of with my background, we'd be able to sort of create a little hub of a fundraising scheme to support projects internationally. And so hence Save the Snakes was born.
Wow. Yeah, buddy, that's pretty epic. You led me to another question I wanted to ask there. Actually, two questions. I was going to ask you what part of Belize you were in, and whenever you're looking at these different corridors these animals are traveling back and forth through, are you guys trying to do any conservation on the property these animals or the corridors they're traveling through and save them?
Well, so for the corridor, I'll go with that question first. Do you mean for the garter snake work?
Yeah, for the garter snake work.
Yeah, so back then it was just looking at how snakes use the land. And so that's, and this is granted back in 2006, so this is quite a while ago.
So a lot of things have probably changed since then, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too, because looking at some of where those snakes were using, there's a big issue where farmers, where it might have been profitable to grow rice, there's a lot of water issues right now in the state of California. And so, farmers who are looking at their land and deciding what's the best crop to go, and when they have big water restrictions, well, they may want to do something like corn or sorghum or alfalfa. Well, alfalfa is pretty water intensive too, but not as intensive as rice. And so that actually had a direct conservation implication for the snakes, because if you're not growing rice, which is basically a big wetland, the snake doesn't have food to go and find it. And then if it's just back to a dry crop, well, that's not good foraging habitat. So that's basically what we were looking at there.
Okay, I gotcha. Makes sense.
And then with Belize, so I had the amazing opportunity to manage a research station along the Hummingbird Highway, which is about like central Belize.
Okay.
And then from there, was actually working with the howler monkeys up in northeastern Belize. And so my job was managing a preserve that was very remote. It was usually only accessible by boat, and then during the dry season by a very bumpy car ride. But living in the Belize bush, tracking howler monkeys that have been rescued, as whether they were like pets in captivity, which is illegal, keeping any wild animal in Belize is illegal, or they were like injured and they had gone through a very long rehabilitation process and then were released back out into the wild. And what was cool is that these troops of monkeys were the first, basically our project was reintroducing this area, because for like 70 years the howler monkey population had been wiped out.
Yeah, so I've seen them there in the Belize Zoo, but I've never seen them out there in the wild.
So the Belize Zoo are really good friends to Save the Snakes, and the people that run it are very, very snake friendly.
Yeah. So do you know Marissa Tejas then too?
Yeah. It's been a while since we connected. I saw her in Belize a few years ago, right before COVID, at a herpetological meeting. But yeah, doing her croc work.
Indeed, yeah, we're fixing to go back down there and visit her next month.
Yeah,
Marissa's a dear friend.
Tell her I say hi. She is a huge inspiration to me and the work that she does. Because crocs they also need a little bit of help down there.
Yeah, yes, indeed they do. So, if people want to learn more about your organization, where do they go? We have the website
Well,
here on the screen, but I'd like to hear you tell more about it.
Of course, yeah. So I think the best way to connect with Save the Snakes is to visit savethesnakes.org, or they can, hop on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, and we are also building like a YouTube channel. So
Nice.
we, I'm sure you may have learned this as well, but our social media landscape is changing, and everything is becoming TikTok, and so we're being
Everything is Reels and TikTok. Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah, so we're kind of like we're going to be going down that path, and so we'll be kind of doing a little bit more with video, and just to showcase our work in a little bit of a different way, which maybe before we wouldn't have done that. But it is kind of exciting because here in Sacramento we actually have a snake conservation center, which is we founded that in 2021. And that's basically it's not open to the public, but it's essentially our office. But here we also provide educational programs. We conduct rattlesnake training for professionals who need snake training. So whether they're first responders, military, wildlife biologists. And so we have a collection of non-venomous and venomous snakes that we use for training programs, but as well as school programs as well. So we go out to schools, bring the snakes. We have an amazing team of volunteers that come and help us at community events. And each year, we had our inaugural Sacramento Snake Festival, July 16th, which is World Snake Day. And we will be having our second Sacramento Snake Festival this coming year in 2023.
How epic
which
is
is
that? That's very neat.
Yeah. We live in good times for snakes if we can have a festival dedicated to the conservation and awareness of snakes.
No joke. Yeah, we do a lot of the same things out here, of course, with reptiles of all kinds, and it's nice to hear about other people doing it other places. It warms my heart.
Yeah, me too. I'm constantly inspired with the amount of work that's being done just for reptiles in general, because again, like whether snakes and crocodiles are both like pretty maligned creatures, I'd say. I think the turtle people have it pretty good.
They do.
But,
they do have it pretty good. Yes.
But it's good to see that there are a lot of groups that are working around snakes and crocodilians and other herp species and raising a lot of public support. It's very cool to see that.
Yeah, I always tell people snakes get a bad rap from the very beginning. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Got a bad rap from the beginning. So I asked you to bring us some trivia questions. Did you do your homework?
I did.
Okay.
I probably have too much information for you.
That's
but
hilarious. I love it.
Definitely have trivia questions for you, or facts.
Okay, hit us with them. Hit us with one.
I'm curious what you all know about snake bite. And I'm curious if you know how many people globally are bitten by a venomous snake.
Oh, okay.
Are we talking per year?
Yeah, per year.
So how many people worldwide bitten by a venomous snake?
Yeah, so suffer a serious snake bite and venomation.
Okay.
Yearly.
Is it in the millions? Is it in the hundreds? I need a
So it's worldwide.
Yeah, worldwide.
Yes.
56,000.
56,000 a year?
That's
That's
I-
actually not a
I
bad
have
guess.
no
I would
idea.
That's
think
not a bad guess.
I would think it's around 50,000.
I say, so with crocodilians, it's a lot less than that, obviously, but
Right.
there's a lot more snakes than there are
Well,
crocodilians.
but I think sometimes
And what you're
snakes,
thinking, there's 3,500 species of snakes, something like that around the world.
And
So
snakes
Yeah,
are
about-
smaller and can be in tight places.
Well,
and
and you gotta
it's
figure-
very easy for you to surprise
and
a
a
snake.
lot of the world is very is not urban. A lot of the world's very out
Right.
there.
Right.
So I'd say it's probably, I'd guess 15,000 a year. I'm guessing
So,
12 to 15. What do you think,
So
Bill?
12 to 15,000.
I was going
and then-
50. I was going.
You're going
closer
50.
to
Yeah,
that.
you guys are going higher. Okay, so the World Health Organization, their number puts it about 2.7 million people around the world suffer a serious snake bite.
What?
Wow.
A year?
A year.
Yes.
That is terrifying.
Wait, so
Yes.
those are just envenomations or those are deaths?
They're envenomations. And
Okay.
so about 400,000 people are permanently disabled by snake bite. So they might lose a hand or a foot, or
Wow.
or they might lose the ability to use a limb or something. And
The look on
numbers of
Cindy's
deaths
face right
per
now.
year deaths per year, the estimate is 81,000 to 138,000 deaths per year.
Wow.
Yep.
So
I did not know that one.
That last number is actually probably an underestimate because these numbers are just taken from community clinics and hospitals.
Yeah, people that actually make it there, right?
They don't make it there, or they choose not to go to a Western medicine where they would receive like anti-venom. So
Wow.
The reason I bring this up is because in 2017, which is the same year that our organization was established, the World Health Organization declared snakebite a neglected tropical disease. So it's because it is. I mean, most people don't know about this, and there's not a lot of funding for it. And so our organization kind of rushed to get our nonprofit status because we knew that when snakes were going to be classified as a disease vector, you would start to see, hey, they're just like mosquitoes, right? They need to be eradicated. But snakes are really important and a pretty essential part of the food web. So we wanted to get out there and put out some positive information.
Well,
because the
was
problem
awesome.
isn't the snakes. The problem is people not knowing how to live in harmony with the snakes.
Right, and I would say as well, again, if you're thinking about a lot of third world countries, you're going to be crossing paths with them all day, every day, whether or not you want to or not, and it's easy that sometimes they're within footfall. Bad things can just happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely the most poor and the most rural are those that are impacted by this, right? And so it's death comes from people that can't get to a hospital, or hospital might be far away, or you're living close proximity to nature, right? So if you think about how humans use forests, and it makes sense that snakes would be around. So to compare it in the United States, how many people do you think here are bitten by venomous snakes each year?
I like that.
56,000.
Yeah.
No, I would say far less, right?
Well, yeah, if it's a, I don't know. I'm questioning everything. But I should know the answer to these.
I'm going to say my 50,000. I'm going to go with my 50.
Oh, so we're just talking about venomous snakes again?
Venomous snakes.
Yeah, so
same thing, but
so let's say we're talking about snakes in general. I'm responsible for quite a few of those every year.
No. Venomous.
I'm going to say 15,000.
15,000 envenomations a year. That's
no, it's higher than that.
You think
it's
so?
higher than that?
I think it's like 50,000.
I don't think it'd be that high here.
I
in the
do.
States, I don't
because
think
like I said, it's real easy to like startle something and get bit.
There was a lady a couple of weeks ago that got bit by a diamondback in the Great Outdoors.
Yeah.
Stuff happens. I would guess. I'm guessing. I'm gonna say 7,000 to 8,000.
Okay, so you get the gold star. It's about 8,000 to 10,000 people per year.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So these are just,
So it's 8,000 to 10,000 in the United States, but like 2 million worldwide.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's very few deaths involved in the States too. Yeah.
And that's the next question. How many deaths do you think in the United States?
157.
That's hilarious.
0.5.
I'm gonna say less than 100.
0.5.
I just adding 0.5. So we have half a death.
Well, we have some. I know a lot. When George Van Horn was here and talking to us about it too, he was talking about how typically now they're not even a lot of the doctors aren't giving you antivenom. They're treating the symptoms instead of using it because we have all this amazing medicine over here to use. So I would guess it's less than 100.
I would think so. Yeah. I guess if you were outside.
If you're out in the middle of nowhere in Utah or something, but
Yeah.
even then, I mean, it's
20.
I'm saying less than 100. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Brandon in the control room says 20.
It says 20.
He says 20.
So in the U.S., it's about 5 to 6 people die per year.
Okay.
Ooh,
Wow.
There we go. Okay.
Which was a
you have
drastic
more
change.
chance of dying from a refrigerator falling on you in the United States than being bitten by and dying from a snake bite in the United States.
I knew a guy that happened to.
Oh.
The refrigerator, or
No, I'm just joking around. Just making a bad joke.
It does paint a little bit of a picture versus like in the U.S., like snake bite is not. It happens. It doesn't happen as often though, but it definitely does happen. But globally, there is such a huge risk from people dying from snake bite, and that's why so much of our work is working with local communities on the ground, trying to reduce the burden of snake bite.
That's very neat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's incredible. All right, we got time for one more, buddy.
One more.
Yep. Hit us with one more.
So then,
Cindy's over here sweating now, just so you know.
I could keep going on the snake bite path, but I think snakes are so maligned. It's really important to understand that so snakes are not pets, right?
Correct.
Snakes are important animals, but why? I'm actually curious. Do you guys know why snakes are important?
I always think about them as kind of rolling epidemiologists, but that's just my thing.
Well, don't they control the rodent population?
Yeah, pest control.
They're taking out disease vectors all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the main reasons that I think snakes are so important. They are a natural form of pest control. I mean, there's there's information about there where snakes control tick populations, so thus by eating rodents, right? So maybe controlling Lyme in certain areas of the United States. But also snakes are just predator and prey, so while they're not only eating lots of rodents and things that we humans don't like, but they're also prey for many, many species. And so when we see snakes, come out of the food web or become more endangered, it can make those food webs out of balance, right? And
Agreed.
Plus, snake venom actually does save lives. So snake venom is now being studied and it's been used to create all kinds of medicines that help humans, from Alzheimer's to surgical adhesives. It's a lot of interesting things are happening with snake venom, and so we don't need to love snakes, but they definitely deserve respect, and if you're able, maybe a little bit of appreciation for the great things they do for us.
Yeah, need to appreciate them for what they are and let them go about their way. I tell people all the time, I wish snakes would chase me. Dear Lord, I wish snakes would chase me. It'd make my life so much better. Things would be so great if snakes would chase me. But yeah, it's just not the way it works. They want nothing to do with us, and a lot of people want nothing to do with them, and it goes hand in hand, So you're right, a very, very misunderstood critter. And anyway, really appreciate you coming on here and chatting with us. Again, the website's savethesnakes.org. Yes?
That's right.
And you guys are located in Sacramento?
Yep, located in Sacramento, but we work around the world.
Well, super appreciate you being on here, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us. Really honored to chat with you.
And again, thank you so much for the opportunity. It was great to speak with you all today.
All right, sir. Thank you. All right, guys. Another episode in the book. That was some pretty awesome stuff. Pretty awesome stuff. But
yep.
Anyhow, you guys got anything interesting going on the rest of the week?
No. Oh, good.
Cindy?
I hope not.
Nothing interesting?
I hope not.
Nothing interesting. I'm heading to...
So when's the next time you go camping?
Yeah, that is a good question.
I don't know yet. Possibly January.
Okay.
Try to go as often as I can when it's cool.
Yeah,
I'm heading to St. Augustine this weekend for Crocfest.
Crocfest.
Okay.
We get a bunch of researchers and people together that work with crocodilians around the world, and we raise money. I think this time they're raising money for Black Cayman and Brazil. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Get to see my boy Chance and see my boy and
see how he's doing.
Indeed, he's roughing everybody up is what he's doing.
He's got to be big now, right?
The last time I was up there and actually picked him up, yeah, you can't curl him anymore. You used to be able to curl him like there was nothing going on. You can't curl him anymore. You got to keep your arms down. You're just like, ah! Yeah, he's a big, heavy dude. He's getting bigger and bigger. I'm be interested to see how big he is in 5 or 6 years from now, because he's going to be a boss.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then I will snuggle him. But anyhow, okay. Well, you guys ready to call it a show?
I think we should.
Okay.
It's a show.
Well, thank you all for joining us. Appreciate you being here. You can find EEARSS on the EEARSS Podcast on all platforms by searching EEARSS. It's EEARSS. All right. We'll catch you all next week. Bye-bye.